On this episode, we discuss Poolman.
You know, not my favorite Spider-Man villain, but I'm interested to see what Sony does with the character.
Welcome to the Flophouse. I'm Dan McCoy.
I'm Stuart Wellington.
I'm Elliot Kalin. Stuart, pick up your cues faster, please. Maybe Stuart is
so confused.
He's just nervous because we've got a great guest today, and it's his job to introduce him. And I understand this is a guest who deserves a big introduction, maybe the biggest. And Stuart,
notoriously irksome if not introduced properly.
Yes,
correct. Yeah.
So,
a real diva.
Our guest today is friend of the podcast, comedian, writer, Josh Gondelman.
Take it again.
Oh, God.
You have irked me.
10 foot tall, 8 foot wiener.
Did you say infinite wiener? Just
infinite wiener.
Infinite
wiener. I'm always reading infinite wiener on the subway just to get attention.
Oh, man. What a pain that would be. It's
no,
Dan,
because I'm imagining.
Honey, keep walking. You got to hit the end of it sometime.
I'm imagining it's like a measuring tape. You can just pull out as much as you need. And it retracts back in. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you for having me. It's very nice to be here.
Infinite Wiener is the Marvel character Anthony Weiner pitched himself as for the MCU.
Oh, go away.
Go away. Yeah, it feels like there's been Infinite Wiener in the news.
Mm-hmm.
It's been like a decade of him going like, I'm back, and then immediately doing something so embarrassing and often illegal.
Yeah. Never has a man
he's
lived
not
up to
going
his
away.
last
Now,
name.
Josh, I'm sure we'll give you a full chance to promote it later, but you just had a new stand-up special drop. Tell us about it.
Thank you. It is called Positive Reinforcement. It is an hour of jokes. It sounds like this, but there's punchlines and people laugh. It is on.
Unlike this, yeah.
I know.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on.
No, I promise. People laugh there. You might not laugh at home, but the people in the room laugh. It's verifiable.
Yeah, I'm not used
cutaways.
to the sound.
Lots of cutaways to the audience to prove that it's funny.
I thought you were saying lots of cutaways like Dan's favorite show, Family Guy.
Yeah, that's right. I do a setup and then it cuts to me fighting a chicken for 3 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I shot it at the Bell House last summer. My friend Chris Warner, who I worked with at Last Week Tonight, directed it. It is on the YouTube channel of the record label that I work with, Blonde Medicine. They're really wonderful. It is available for anyone to watch anytime. I really hope people do. It's it's not quite clean. Sometimes people think I'm clean and like book me for synagogues and tell me, Dave, like, okay, you can't curse. And I'm like, well, I was just gonna if you didn't tell me. But there's no cursing in the special, but it does get a little adult. So you can watch it with like your cool teens, or teens, you can watch it with your cool parents.
Okay.
But no duds, no losers.
No losers. Yeah, is this the sort of special that kids are gonna like run home and listen to like on super low volume so their parents don't hear them listening to, like I did with like old Eddie Murphy stand-up?
I did it with Adam Sandler's
I was going to say
sketch comedy albums.
Those Adam Sandler albums were the ones where me and my friends would listen to them on real low volume because we didn't want our parents hearing the...
Because you didn't want your ears to hurt from the irritating voices.
Dan's embarrassed, but he did that with the jerky boys tapes.
Yeah.
We couldn't even get our hands on those. Those were too hot when I was
Oh, yeah.
I thought there were two guys made of jerky, and I just really liked dried meats, and I was very disappointed.
Josh, what's the name of the special again?
It's called Positive Reinforcement.
Positive Reinforcement. And now I'm so Josh, you're a famously positive person. You're famously positive, kind of like, let's find the nice thing to say person. So I'm very excited to hear you talk about the movie Poolman today.
Poolman.
You mean the hot Lebowski?
That's good, man. You were saving that. You had that queued up, Dan. What's Poolman all about here?
Wait, I'm not the guy in charge of this. Thank God. This is not a plot-heavy.
This is written and directed and starring Chris Pine. I would argue the best of the Hollywood Chris's. And he is...
I think I would say Chris Weitz friend of the podcast. Best of Hollywood Chris is.
Okay, that's fine.
Director,
You're
screenwriter.
right. You're right. He's usually
You're actually right.
he's usually mentioned in the same sort of grouping as the
Yeah.
people we were.
Pine,
Yeah, I'll see a
Evans,
grid on
Pratt.
Instagram. It's Hemsworth, Whites,
Hemsworth.
Pratt.
Yep.
He works in Hollywood. His name is Chris.
And he's
Yeah.
great. He's the best one.
Yeah, he is the best. So let's talk about. But yes, it's as you said, it's written, directed, and starring Chris Pine, and it really wears its influences on its sleeve. As in, it wants to be the Big Lebowski really badly. It wants to be kind of like a more sensitive Chinatown really badly, which it signifies by having the characters watch Chinatown in the movie. And
That's always a tough one. It's tough when a movie has you watch arguably a better movie.
I think
in
arguably,
the movie you're watching.
setting aside the landmine of the man who made the movie, I think you can make.
What happened?
You're gonna love this too.
His nose got terribly mangled by a switchblade.
You know, I think you can arguably make a case that yes, that Chinatown is a better movie than Poolman.
It's like what was it? The scene in Reign of Fire, where in the post-apocalyptic future they entertain children by reenacting the story of Star Wars, and I'm like, movie, don't be doing this. Don't make me think about Star Wars while I'm watching Reign of Fire.
Also, I mean, I had the same experience watching Return of the Jedi, where C-3PO entertains the Ewoks by reenacting Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like, Return of the Jedi, Star Wars is a better movie. What are you doing? But
There's a third LA-based movie that is explicitly referenced in this, where you're like, even I would like to be watching that movie. Where he goes, "You've never seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit?"
Yeah, and this movie is it's all that stuff. It's very The Long Goodbye. Like it wants to be The Long Goodbye.
I'm going to toss a couple other ones in there that I find more appropriate. Even is like Under the Silver Lake and Inherent Vice, where it's movies where the main character is so addled that you can't tell whether there actually is a giant conspiracy he's part of or whether it's just his paranoid fantasies.
Yeah.
That kind of like LA neo-noir with like a dopey main character, basically.
I would call it Los Angeles hangout burnout noir. Like there's a lot of hanging out. The main characters are burnout. Big Lebowski, I would say, is the greatest of those. That's arguably. But let's talk about. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Poolman.
I think there's contention there, but that's okay.
See the Chris Pine in the pool, wearing shorts and looking cool. That I've been sitting on. I've been singing that around the apartment so much.
That
Poolman. My wife Maris has not been enjoying it.
Oh, interesting.
How's the dog responded?
She's down. As long as I sing it in her direction and like kind of upbeat.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what Poolman. We talked about what Poolman is like. Let's talk about what Poolman is. Poolman stars Chris Pine as Darren, or DB, he's also called. He lives in a trailer next to a motel pool. He's a pool guy. He takes his work very seriously. He only seems to take care of one pool, just the one at this apartment motel complex. He doesn't seem to like
just enough to earn the title.
Yes, like he doesn't travel around taking care of other pools as most pool people do.
It's not called Pools Man.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Be a very confusing title. People would get confused.
He takes it very seriously, and he's like Josh said, he's the hot Lebowski. He has his shirt off a lot, and he's kind of a burnout, and he kind of doesn't know what's going on. He writes very ultra positive letters to Aaron Brockovich. Every day he writes a letter to Aaron Brockovich, and he has a girlfriend.
As we all do.
And I think that the tone of the movie might be best summed up by the first scene between him and his girlfriend, whose name is Susan, I think, where they finish played by is it Jennifer Jason Leigh?
Yep.
Okay. And
it's almost like there's a ton of stars in this movie.
It is a very star-packed movie. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And the material does not give them a huge amount to do.
I would say that it's like the movie is less a plot where one scene leads tightly to the next, but like a series of acting exercises performed by great actors. Like, just sort of circuitous conversations.
It's like a star vehicle, but the vehicle is one of those like fake horses out in front of a grocery store that a kid kind of rides, and it just kind of goes up and down.
It doesn't go very much. So they lie in bed together. They have a conversation about how their local chicken restaurant has not been as good lately since the owner died. And he finds out that his girlfriend used to date the owner, and he talks a lot about Descanso Gardens, which is a real botanical garden in New York. In Los Angeles. That my
do they
family's
make a lot of LA location references in this?
A lot of LA location references throughout the movie. But Descanso Gardens, for some reason, especially gets like, and I'm like, does Chris Pine just like to hang out at Descanso Gardens? I don't know. It's a great botanical garden, but I'm not sure why they mention it so much. But you don't really, the characters are kind of having this rambling conversation at cross purposes with each other. And there's a lot of that in this movie. There's a lot of rambling conversations where characters are not really speaking directly to each other. She leaves. He gets a package it's a real estate calendar from Theodore Hollandaise, who is one of the, I guess, sinister power brokers pulling the strings in Los Angeles. With a name like Teddy Hollandaise. Then we're introduced to some of Poolman's crew. There's Jack and Diane. Like every time he said Jack and Diane, it made me so mad. Because it's like not a joke. It's like a fake joke. And that Jack is Danny DeVito, Diane is Annette Bening. It's great to see them in movies. I love seeing them perform. They live at that kind of hotel apartment complex. Danny DeVito tells a long story about a Japanese restaurant complaining about it, and that's kind of the scene. and Diane is Poolman's therapist, and Jack, Diane, and Poolman, they're making a documentary with Poolman's friend Wayne about Poolman's attempts to get the city council to bring back the trolley cars that used to be in Los Angeles and are a big plot point in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, as you'll remember.
I would just want to say in passing that my favorite characters, I think, in this, I mean, other than we'll see Stephen Tobolowsky later.
He's about to come up.
He's terrific. But I think that Jack and Diane are my favorite characters because there's just something about, I mean, like, DeVito's doing his, like, normal, just sort of, like, I don't know, like, fumfering around with high energy thing. But there's something about, I think, Annette Bening specifically, her positive, like, vibe. Like, she's just, like, kind of coming along on all this bullshit very, like, indulgently, and she's just, like, happy to relax next to them while they're
always,
doing
like, wearing a sun hat and giant glasses.
Stuff. And I found them, like, more fun than, like, the problem with Chris Pine's character to me is he's, like, too dumb. Like in something like The Big Lebowski, like Lebowski ends up being kind of a good detective, which is kind of the funny thing about that movie. Even though he's stoned all the time, he puts things together. Whereas Chris Pine is like really out to lunch.
He's really dumb, and he's like, but he's not. We don't ever see him like smoking pot or anything like that, you know.
No.
Whereas The Big Lebowski, like,
and he doesn't drink alcohol,
and he doesn't
right?
drink.
No, he drinks.
Right.
It seems like kind of a plot point.
So instead of it, like Lebowski is clear, he's a burnout because he's always high. He's always smoking pot, which is a character trait.
Drinking White Russians.
And drinking White Russians, that's true. Whereas the Poolman is or Darren, I guess. No one ever calls himself a Poolman, but no one's ever like, Poolman, you're here. But he's just a dumb guy. He's just a dumb spacey guy, you know. And I was trying to think to myself, what is it that makes Jeff Bridges' performance in The Big Lebowski so amazing? I think it's one of the best comic performances of the past 40 years or something like that in a movie. I think and maybe it's just that he knows that character so well that he's like inhabiting it so completely. Whereas Chris Pine feels like he is playing a part. Like he feels like he's playing a character.
Guys, do you think on the set of Hell or High Water, Chris Pine went up to Jeff Bridges and was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing another Big Lebowski.
I also think
give me some tips."
I also think there's something frustrating about like usually you don't want like a passive character, but like the Pool Man like keeps sort of stumbling into problems of his own design and misinterpreting things, and that makes him more irritating. Whereas Lebowski is like just constantly reluctant. He just wants to be left alone, but is like dragged into things, which I found much more sympathetic.
Yeah,
I honestly was thinking about that same tension because watching this movie, I kept thinking to myself, why is he doing all these things?
Well, why is he doing? And then at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, we'll get there. He's totally superfluous to everything that's been happening, but not in a funny way. Not in a funny like, oh, I thought I was the hero of this movie, but it turns out I was just kind of bumbling around the edges of a larger story. Instead, everyone treats him like a hero when he's done nothing and accomplished nothing. And it's it's very weird. But it might just be that, you know, Chris Pine, he walked the strike line with us. You know, I appreciate that, but I'll go as far as to say he's probably not up to the Coen brothers level in his directorial debut here. This is not Blood Simple, you know, compared to the Coen brothers who did Big Lebowski.
I would also, as much as I like him, I don't think he's cast well in this because Chris Pine has like a depth and a soulfulness in his eyes that do not fit a character that's this bumbling to me.
I will say two things. One, I think he comes off as a smart guy playing a dumb guy, which and also he's in great shape. And it's hard for me to believe this character having the motivation to like exercise. I believe him meditating and like trying to be good to himself that way and eating right. I don't, but it's hard for me to imagine this guy.
He is in great shape. What do you think his routine is, Dan? What do you think his workout?
Yeah, Dan, what do you think he does?
I'm guessing he does a lot of surfing.
A lot of surfing.
That's a good
Probably not a lot of bulking, right? Probably not a lot of powerlifting.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
I wonder what he squats.
Well,
Okay,
he's probably
we'll
listening. So Chris Pine, right in. So anyway, they are making a documentary about Darren's attempts to get the trolley back. They go to a city council hearing chaired by city council chairman Stephen Toronkowski, who's played by Stephen Tobolowsky. So I could not remember that his name was Toronkowski for most of the movie. And in my notes, I just call him Tobolowsky. And this is Darren's.
That's on them.
That's on them. Yes, I mean,
this is not an Elliot problem.
No, that's true. They're doing. It's very funny how none of the other characters have character names that are that close to their real name. But Stephen, it's not like they named the character Stephen Toronkowski and then by coincidence cast Stephen Tobolowsky in the role.
Couldn't have possibly been done that way.
No.
And in fact, if it was a coincidence, they would have changed it.
You would think so. This is his 577th consecutive appearance, and he's fixated on returning LA back to the way it was. He's one of these guys who's like, old LA was amazing. They're tearing down all these old buildings. He's very knowledgeable about old LA buildings and kind of
as an LA guy, Elliot, is this a character
they actually call
that
me
like
Elliot.
Elliot.
Now I'm Elliot Kalen, because that's my catchphrase on the radio here. I go, Elliot. Hey guys, what do you don't know what to do with it? LA it, make it more LA. That's what I do.
What does that mean in effect?
It means
radio station.
yeah. What's the content?
Well,
here?
when you LA something, basically you put a side of avocado on it, and then you place it next to a thing that is a wildly different architectural style, but it still works because there's so many different types.
But you have to like drive 20 minutes to get there.
Oh, at least on a good day. So you're gonna ask me about LA?
I was just gonna say like. Three of us here are longtime New Yorkers. You being an LA guy.
A native, LA native.
Is this like a caricature that is common and for an LA audience would play really well?
I think there's an LA. I will give the movie this. I think it has an LA feel. I think it does feel like you're in Los Angeles and the characters are kind of LA types. But I have to admit, I have not found myself in this situation too often where I'm encountering
outside
this kind of like
Jesse Thorne, our good friend, who is perfect LA guy.
Yeah.
You would love that.
He
doesn't identify heavily with the Bay Area or anything.
Not at all. But I don't hang around a lot of the like classic LA built around a pool housing complexes, I don't spend a lot of time around buildings done in the Googie architecture style, not by choice, just it doesn't happen that often. So I feel like I'm not encountering this level the same way that in New York, I would often encounter people who are like, oh, the old New York. Can you imagine? Like this building's been around for, 150 years. Oh, this is great. In LA, also the things like old LA is like 80 years old. It's not it's not that old. So, my wife's cousin's husband, who's from who grew up in Istanbul, he's always like, America. You look at a building and you're like, this is 200 years old, and you think that's old. We got 1,000-year-old buildings where I'm from, and I feel like LA is that accelerated, where people are like, we can't tear down this building. It's 60 years old. It's an artifact of an earlier era. That kind of thing. So, but that's a long way of saying. I don't know that I've ever met anyone who's like, the old LA, the old glamour of old Los Angeles, but I'm sure they're out there. Steven, this scene, maybe you guys can explain it to me. City council meeting, he's got this elaborate presentation he's doing, and Stephen Tobolowsky instantly gets so mad at him and is like, leave, get out, your time is up, but he hasn't said anything particularly
we
insulting.
Just had it established that this is like he just broke the record for most consecutive appearances at one of these meetings. But if these are the appearances he's having, like, it should be fine. Like, I didn't know why the characters were getting mad at each other. I didn't understand it. You would get mad if this guy came to your work like 500 days in a row with his nonsense? If my job is to talk to the members of the public when they want to come to meetings. Then, Elliot, I think you're being disingenuous here. You have, I mean, perhaps,
Elliot has ideals of the elected officials' jobs.
I do. That's why it's so painful to live through this period.
Treat a constituent this way.
Never.
Elliot Kalen for mayor of Los Angeles.
As a current current candidate for as a current candidate for the board of the Writers Guild West, I would never treat a constituent this way. Come talk to me about your issues, union members. Come talk to me 577 days in a row. We'll have a same pleasant conversation. I will not just explode at you the way Stephen Tobolowsky does today.
You've got issues. He's got tissues. Elliot.
What? In case people are crying, I'm there for it.
They need to blow their nose from, I don't know,
Stuart,
or there's just like a little something on their cheek, if that's maybe their issue.
And I'll lick the tissue and just rub it off. Yeah, Stuart, can you be my campaign manager for mayor of Los Angeles?
I got time. Why not?
Or my campaign manager for the Writers Guild board. Again, I'm running. So he gets mad and he gets thrown out. DB has the first of several meditating at the bottom of a pool scenes.
No, he did one early, right?
Oh, he did earlier? Oh, I missed it.
Because he did like right at the beginning, he does it after he adjusts the pool. And I took a note that it said like, it's the first character sitting at the bottom of a pool scene that isn't about a long dark night of the soul. He just kind of likes it down there.
And I think it's very funny because it's like, I don't know how deep you're going to get into meditation at the bottom of a pool. You can't do it for too long, or you'll die.
Especially because it's very breathing centered meditation.
That's what I'm saying.
In my experience.
Like meditation is very much about feeling yourself breathe. So it feels like unless he has some shortcut, it's very hard to. And you can only meditate for like 4 minutes at most.
There's an element of
isolation.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sensory deprivation. Yeah.
Sensory deprivation. That's what I was actually.
But at sensory deprivation tank, like you're in there for a while. Like you're not in there for 2 minutes and then suddenly you're out of your mind.
30 seconds.
A minute, 30 seconds. Yeah.
Have you guys ever done a cold plunge, like an icy cold plunge?
No, I haven't.
Dan, have you ever done like a
that seems like
a cold bath?
Josh,
I haven't done it, but I know it's a big thing that people are doing.
Because I've done, I was like I can do like 45 seconds, but then after that I'm like my extremities hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I figured you guys were all cold plunge.
I don't even. I can't even do that. Like I know that you like to.
I prefer to take.
I know this. You like to finish off a shower with a little cold water, right? Like,
yeah.
I feel like I've heard you.
You wrote it down in your stew diary.
But I cannot take it. No, thank you.
I appreciate cold water taken internally. Really cold water, I like to take it in through my mouth into the inside of my body.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah.
And Josh, you're one of those guys who wakes up at 4 a.m. and sticks your face
in a bowl of freezing cold water. Yeah. I eat it with the skin on.
Look at the results.
That's where all
his
the
skin
nutrients
is taut.
are.
His skin is
exactly.
And you sleep with tape on your mouth so that you can breathe through your nose the healthy way.
It's so my nose doesn't stop grinding when I'm asleep. No plays off for the nose.
So, he has a vision of himself in a suit and a tree, and he becomes fixated on this tree for much of the movie. And he writes a letter to Aaron Brockovich about his troubles. We learn that so this is a weird thing to learn off camera, is that when he was thrown out of the city council meeting, that he punched one of the security guards and went to jail and got bailed out. And this is information that we're just told as in his voiceover to Aaron Brockovich. And it makes me wonder, did they forget to shoot this? Did they shoot it and it just didn't work?
Lost the location.
Poolman was too short for you, Elliot. That's your problem?
I'm wondering why Poolman would remove one of the few moments of action or
also,
thrill that it might have had.
There could be an element of that like seeing him hit somebody as opposed to just hearing about it is different. Like seeing somebody commit an act of violence. Like it changes your feel.
It's just a strange thing to find out happened between scenes. Like you see it in movies sometimes, but it's usually a result of they've edited out a scene because it wasn't working, and they have to have dialogue to explain it.
You say he's wearing a suit, and I do have to point out that Chris Pine wears some incredible outfits in this movie.
You can tell Chris Pine dressed himself because he has a great sense of style. He wears great clothes. Yeah,
and he's constantly eating at Langer's.
Yes, they get food from Langer's, which is it's a good deli. It's right near the Max Fun offices. Or it was. I don't remember where they.
Is that your favorite LA deli, Elliot?
I think my favorite might be Arts.
Which is the one with the what's the one by Hollywood? Is it by Sunset? What's the one with that has the kibitz room attached to it, the bar?
Oh, I think you're thinking of Schmelberger's Deli. Yeah,
that's not true.
No, I don't know which one. I haven't yet gotten to explore the delis of LA the way I've still never been to Cantor's, which is the famous one.
Cantor's is the one you're talking about, I think, Stuart.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
We got so jealous of LA podcasts talking about local shit all the time that we had
now we're in on the action.
Elliot Kalin.
Elliot with Elliot.
Los Angeles pastrami roundup.
Hey guys, La Cienega.
Yep, that's a place. That's the thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's your other catchphrase, Deliot.
Deliot.
Well, that's when I'm running. That's when I'm running for the Jewish vote in LA. I go Elliot Kalin. Yeah.
Half sour pickle on the side of it. That's
That's the first law I want to push through in the LA City Council. All sandwiches come with a pickle, just free. You don't have to pay for that. That's just
okay, Zoran. Your socialist pickle distribution.
These pickles are too damn high.
How can we afford this, Elliot?
A few. We're back to New York references.
There you go.
Comfortable.
Josh, you wanted to say something? I assume not about my campaign for mayor of LA.
No, it was about that. No.
Okay.
I do, like Stuart said, I like the outfits. I think like the movie like looks kind of fun. Like you were saying, that has an LA feel.
It's a good looking movie. I don't know who did the cinematography on it, but so the cinematography is, I'm looking up now, is Matthew Jensen.
Okay.
Who's done a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and it looks great.
Well, I wanted to say, like, I would argue that Chris Pine as a director, like, the issues here are Chris Pine screenwriter more than they are Chris Pine director. Like, I think he gets good performances out of everyone. I think it looks good. You know, like, I know he's working with other technicians, but like he directed a good looking movie.
And I know he wasn't the casting director, but I'm assuming a big part of the cast was, oh yeah, I'll work with Chris Pine.
Yes,
totally.
So this is actually, I'm finding out now, this is the cinematographer Matthew Jensen. This is his second appearance on the Flophouse because he also was the cinematographer for Josh Trank's Fantastic Four, which we saw a while back.
Oh, wow. He made it through that crucible.
But it looks like his earliest film was, have you ever seen the movie Man of the Century? Where it's 1999, but there's a guy who looks and talks like it's the 20s. And it's a kind of ridiculous idea for a movie, but I remember seeing it a long time ago. So I'm like, oh, that's funny that he also worked on another movie about a guy who like is nostalgic for an earlier time, basically. But that was a New York one. So anyway, let's get back to this movie because there's so much more to talk about because we're about to get to the femme fatale character. That's right. Stephen Tobolowsky's new executive assistant, June, comes to see Darren. She's the one who bailed him out of jail, and she wants his help. She says the councilman has been accepting bribes, and she thinks he's going to accept one from Teddy Hollandaise, who I should just mention now is played by Clancy Brown. And
oh, yeah.
And she wants him to, I guess, just find evidence of this bribe. And Darren is like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not a detective. Darren has a therapy session with Diane. He's in tears, I think, in this one because he saw that tree in his meditation. And she's like, you have to confront that tree. And Darren, against Diane's wishes, decides he's going to take this detective case, and Jack is like, you should do it. This will be great for our documentary. And Darren's like, this is what Aaron Brockovich would have done. I'm going to take this detective case. Don't know why he couldn't have made that decision in the earlier scene since he's already obsessed with Aaron Brockovich. Like, he could have just looked at her picture on his wall, which is on there, and done it. But that's when
typewriter, which he uses to write her the letters.
Yeah, that's when he gets pastrami from Langers.
He's one of those guys.
A real Tom Hanks.
He gets pastrami from Langers, and then the place that I got sandwiches from for my wife after our second son was born. She didn't want any more hospital food, so I ran on down to Langers and got her sandwiches there.
Okay, I'll put that in my notebook right next to Stuart likes cold water in his showers.
Look, Elliot and Deliot. The deli is an important part of my family life. And then they watch Chinatown, and luckily for us, they see the scene in Chinatown where the guy explains that LA is a desert town and it needs water because underneath our feet it's a desert. Is this
the equivalent? Is this the equivalent of like a sci-fi movie where you walk into like a college professor giving a speech that explains exactly what the point of the movie is?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why polymer strands, when stretched too far, lead to dimensional rifts. Anyway, that's the bell. The homework assignment is pages 2,500 through 3,300. Like they always, every college professor I've learned from movies cannot accurately time their own lectures, and they're always yelling the homework assignment as everyone is rushing to get out of the room. Yeah,
like, man, the syllabus is probably online. Just tell them the syllabus is online.
They also always get to the most important part of the lecture right as the bell is hitting, because that's when the FBI agent or NYPD officer or NASA scientist or whatever is walking into the room, because they also cannot get the schedule right for the class.
I would imagine like a cop and not a cop are walking in. They're about to do some kind of investigation. The Nautica could be anything, like a pastry chef, a magician.
Anything. It's especially if the professor is a bad guy professor. So when they walk in, he's always like, and that's how you remove all the skin from a living person. Oh, that's the end of class. Okay, the homework assignment is to find out I'm a serial killer, and then the cop and not a cop come and talk to him, and he's like, oh well, he's always like fiddling with the chalk, you know.
Sure, hope you catch that chicken cutlet killer.
This is one for Deliot again.
Hope you catch BF Skin Man.
I love his solo stuff.
It's pretty sassy of the serial killer to give himself a pun name like that. But.
It was the New York Post.
Yeah, the Post did it. The Post did it. This is a New York-based thing, but not the kind of thing I talk about now that I'm Elliot Kalin, the LA-based Elliot. So they take the case. They watch Chinatown. He goes to June's apartment. I don't remember why. And they're both dressed like old movie stars, and they kind of semi-flirt, and she's putting it on very heavy, this kind of like melodramatic femme fatale, you know, kind of every line is weighted with some kind of subtext. They blow out a match together, and then they go to dinner together. And did I miss the part where she says, come and have dinner with me before he just shows up at her apartment? Like,
you're really, like obsessed with things not happening on screen that really could be assumed. Like, this is the sort of stuff that usually I feel like you're like, yeah, just move it along, movie. But here you're like, no, I need everything explained.
Well, I think the issue, something I said before we started recording was, it's weird to see a movie that doesn't have a core. And I think my issue is that I kind of kept waiting for the movie to like act like it was a movie, to kick in and act like there was a story and not just like a collection of scenes where things are happening. And I'm like, movie, if there's a mystery of any kind or there's a conspiracy a guy is supposed to dig into, you got to give me some of the linkages. Like it can't just be, unless that's what the movie is about. But it doesn't feel like that's what this movie is about. You know, anyway. Josh, what are you gonna say?
No,
you want to talk.
I'm with. It's really kind of free floating. I wanted to say I made a note. This was so funny to me. I was watching this movie with my wife Maris, whose book came out last week. I want to burn this place
down.
What
a wife guy! He's always mentioning his wife.
I'm always
Rob Zombie over here.
She didn't make it to the end of the movie. She lived, but she walked out of the room. But she, when they're showing,
she didn't say I can't take any more of this movie and just slice her own throat open.
She plugs her thing.
But when they were watching Chinatown, she goes, yeah, Chris Evans, this is your Chinatown. And then Chris Pine, and she was like, whatever.
Shouldn't even get
we
what
all
Chris
know that
was.
Chris Evans' Chinatown would be Chinatown in Boston.
Which is a good Chinatown.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great Chinatowns. Look, if you go to a city, you go to Chinatown, whatever Chinatown they have there, you're gonna find something good there. You know, I'm a big fan of Chinatowns in general, the movies and the places.
Shanghai at Caleb.
You know what LA has? A Chinatown, that's right, and a Japantown, and a Koreatown, and a historic Filipino town. And as mayor, I will represent all of those different constituencies, not the way I think they should be represented, but the way they need to be represented, the way they want to be represented. I'm listening to you, LA.
He's really crushing it.
He is.
Yeah, thank you. I should run for mayor of LA. I mean, I don't know where anything is in the city, but I kind of feel like nobody in LA knows where anything is in the city.
I don't know where anything is in the city. Where am I now?
So they have a very seductive dinner. It's very mysterious. He's a doof. And then when they leave, she gets in a real tiny car and drives off, and he follows her to a mansion and sees her talking to somebody in silhouette. And he writes to Aaron and Brockovich. He's like, this is great. Everything's going well. So he's meditating in the pool again, and in his meditation, someone says hi to him. We'll later find out this is a lizard. Yeah. The next day, he talks to Jack for a while. Jack tells him a long story that I cannot remember what it was about. And then suddenly they're trailing Council President Tobolowsky, or Council Committee Chairman Tobolowsky, and they see him at a racetrack. He gets a handoff from some goons.
The story was about doing hash in Cape Cod, while he was doing community theater.
That's right, while he was doing children's community theater. That's what, which may be a real story from Danny DeVito's life. It had that feeling of Chris Pine being like, Danny, just talk. Just say anything, just monologue.
Josh, like they mentioned Massachusetts and his ears perked up.
I really perked up. I was like,
Now, so guys, I'm going to talk about another thing that didn't make sense to me about this movie. A movie that is a loosely agglomerated collection of scenes. The goons who work for Teddy Hollandaise, why are they dressed like the guys from Miami Vice, a show that is famously not set in Los Angeles?
It's a good question, Dan.
I mean, is that not a style that you'll see in LA too, though? Like, I feel like that's
they are
warm weather.
I mean, but they seem so specifically patterned after the guys from in Miami Vice.
It's also a lot of the stuff in the movie, not to like digress, but I think it's of a piece with like the things in this movie all look like they're not from the present, even though the movie clearly takes place in the present.
Yes,
like that is everything is stylized to be like a little off and a little out of time.
It feels like he's going for all that we've talked about, like The Big Lebowski and Chinatown. It feels like he's also going for a Wes Anderson feel to a lot of stuff in that way. And I feel like, I know Stuart does not like Wes Anderson particularly, but I feel like Wes Anderson, when he is successful at it, partly because he creates this feeling of like, this exists in its own special universe that has this way of being. Whereas this feels so much like, it's so like LA, 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 the old LA, the new LA, that you're like, well, you gotta ground it in Los Angeles then, I guess. Like, it can't just be in Chris Pine's head the way that Wes Anderson's movies very clearly take place in a dollhouse.
I'll disagree. I think that I mean, like, if it's a guy who's obsessed with old LA, it kind of makes sense that, like, he's, we're taking, like, it is sort of like it exists in his head, and we're seeing all these, like, older places. Like, the hotel he works at seems like a mid-century hotel, just like a kind of seedy,
the places
like, rundown.
It's not the places so much.
The cars.
Like, if he's supposed to be the guy who is the old LA, kind of the guy who wants it so badly, then the people he's in opposition with should not also be old LA style people, right? Like, you've got to differentiate your characters a little bit. You can't have
that's a good point.
So I feel like it's a thematic failing. I mean, it makes it look beautiful.
Awesome.
It looks great.
All like the costumes look really cool. All the cars look really cool.
As much as I
was just saying we are being, I think, pretty negative about the movie because it's not a very good movie. But there were lots of like little glimmers that I was like, oh, that's fun. Like, I have that in my head too much of like, that's fun. Like her asking what he wants to drink. I think it was June did this, and he says water, and they go, makes sense, you're a pool man. And it's like those like tiny little jokes where someone goes, things change, and he goes, well, they shouldn't. That's like a very Wes Anderson line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And at the very end, the Wes Anderson part really hit me more. At the very end, two characters that say they're going to Paris, and when we see them in a group scene, they're wearing like literally striped shirts and berets, and it's like, oh, okay,
or the
like
end
cartoon
of
Paris.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
The Wes Anderson movie of its day,
kind of.
But I mean, I think on some level, there's a feel like he is only a few steps removed from a Pee-wee type character.
Yes,
like
I think that's
I
true.
feel like this movie wouldn't hate that comparison.
No, but I think that I just having seen Pee-wee's Big Adventure a few times recently because my kids got into it. Like, one of the things that movie does so well is the balance between Pee-wee's world and how weird the real world is, but also how not exactly like Pee-wee.
Elliot, this is a little tough guy test here. This is an official tough guy test. How well do your boys do with the large Marge bit?
Oh, they were fine. I warned them about it ahead of time.
Okay,
I was like,
I shit my pants. Like,
me too. When I was a kid, I could not watch it. It was so scary. And so I told them there's two scary parts in this movie. And we can fast forward through them if you want. And the large Marge, afterwards they're like, that was it? It was like claymation. Like it meant nothing to them,
Well,
okay, yeah, you got to get them to watch The Ring next, I guess.
And the other thing, the other thing about Pee-wee's Big Adventure is it helps that it has some of the funniest jokes in the world. Like, if you're gonna make a picaresque like story where it doesn't really matter what the plot is, it helps to just like have each individual thing be hilarious.
Well, there's a saying I think that like a good director can make a bad script look good, but like a bad director can ruin a good script or something like that. And I feel like the issue with this movie is the story, like we said, is the script. Like, and it looks really cool. The actors are fun in it. There's a fun atmosphere to it. Like, the atmosphere feels really fun. But while you're watching it, you're just kind of like, what's happening? What am I seeing?
This is the kind of movie that I love too. It is like, I love like schlub meets a bunch of weirdos. That could be the description of so many of my favorite movies.
Name another movie that fits into the schlub meets a bunch of weirdos genre.
Gosh, I'm trying to think. I saw one pretty recently, but even like, okay, this is like delicate, physically slender woman meets a bunch of weirdos, but like even Poor Things kind of had that, and I liked where it's like, here's a new weirdo and here's a new weirdo, and so I love like a person kind of getting blown through the world.
You think they're weird in that movie?
I think I might have talked in the podcast before about how badly I felt for the guys who were cast to play the Johns at the brothel that she's working at, poor things, where I'm like, can we just put a casting notice out for guys you would never want to have sex with? Like, who's going to show up for this audition?
Can you just look in their eyes and just think their dick is gross?
They were auditioning for that and Zola at the same time.
But it's a kind of movie that I really like, but it just feels like every scene. Like I recently was talking about The Big Lebowski for a different friend's podcast. I won't, not going to.
Please don't mention.
Start an East Coast West Coast rivalry, even though they're both on the West Coast.
East Coast West Coast can be friends. Look, this podcast right here, you got 2 New York guys and 1 LA guy, LA stalwart, LA Kalen. I think we can bring this together.
To the bone over there.
Born and raised, except for the first 35 years of my life.
But in Lebowski, every scene is just so fun and full of interesting, weird stuff. And these scenes, this movie, it feels like they're trying to kind of rev up the charm and the quirk, but it doesn't quite get there. And so you see it looks great, and you can see like these performances are really good, but they just don't have that much like fun stuff to do.
Yeah, it feels like an attempt to do a Lebowski where they didn't give them business, like he brought people in and were like, okay, and go, and didn't necessarily give them like, here's what your character does.
It's like he had the idea of the type of movie he wanted to make, but forgot that there also should be a movie somewhere in there.
Yes, yeah. And so getting back to the movie in there somewhere, the next day, so they go to this handoff, they see what looks like the Tobolowsky taking a bribe, and they're all there as a group watching, and they're being pretty loud. And Diane's just
kind of
reading, reading out loud from the book that she's got.
Which
lot
I believe
of the characters.
Is Knausgaard?
Is that what it was?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Was that My Struggle?
Yeah, I think that's what I clocked, and I was like, this certainly isn't Hitler's My Struggle.
No, and you know what? I read the wrong book. I read Mice Truggle, and I just didn't even find out what truggling was. Why mice would do it.
Yeah.
I picked up the wrong book, and that's on me. That's on me.
Picked up the wrong book. What are you? Because to read along with Poolman?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Oh no,
you don't do that.
No, yeah, you don't read when you watch a movie. You're not like, I got to read the book that they're reading in it. Yeah.
I do every month. I read Oprah's book club pick. I read Poolman's book club pick.
Yeah.
And it tells me there's a lot of Zen in the art of motorcycle maintenance. A lot of that in Poolman's
collection of his letters to Aaron Brockovich.
Oh yeah, the Brockovich letters. Yeah. So it turns out a lot of the characters are carrying guns. This is something that never plays into anything, which is fine. It's just kind of a joke. But it's just kind of it's one of the wackier moments in the movie for me where I'm like, oh, so they're just all carrying guns all the time? Because that's not an LA thing. Not in my LA. Elliot Kalen's LA is a weapon-free zone.
Wayne pulls the gun, right?
Wayne does, but then also Susan has one, and I think Diana has a weapon of some kind.
Susan has a taser.
Oh, that's what's
right.
Taser. Okay.
And Wayne, I think they do kind of pay off. Not to spoil it too much, but
that's true. There's an explanation why he would have a gun, but
this is also where he finds out that Wayne and Susan have been having an affair and they're in love. And that Wayne effectively broken up with.
Yeah, Susan is going out with Wayne, who until this point has seemed kind of like a lackey for Darren, and they take pictures and they run away. He discovers they're in love. He gets upset. He meditates again. He sees a talking lizard. June comes over. She's like, I know you were following me. That was my uncle's house. My uncle is taking care of my mom because she's sick. And they kiss and she leaves. And he goes, wait, and Darren goes, wait a minute. The guys I saw with Torakowski, they work for Hollandaise. So he goes to Hollandaise's office, and This is one of the scenes where it's like clues just fall into his lap, basically. And I guess maybe that's part of the issue I'm having with it, is he meets William Van Patterson, played by Ray Wise, who is investing in one of Hollandaise's housing projects. And then Hollandaise just talks to Darren for a little bit, and he's like, hey, tells him a story. This is how I got my job. There's a job here for you. And Darren goes, you bribed Tobolowsky. And I
gotta say, if you see Clancy Brown and Ray Wise walking out of the office like laughing together, you know they're up to something.
Always up to
trouble's brewing.
Troubles, and it's too bad that we never see them together again. I would it's like, oh, that's the movie I want to see, is Clancy Brown and Ray Wise being bad guys together. And then he goes, oh, there's so much more that you don't know about Tobolowsky. He's hiding something over at the Moody Mule Bar. And Darren goes there and walks into the best scene in the movie,
Yes.
which is a scene from The Golden Girls, because Councilman Torenkowski his secret is that he plays Blanche in a drag cabaret version of the Golden Girls, and it leads to Darren.
And the Poolman is taken by this very much. Like he's like, genuinely like this guy's doing great work on stage. He love this.
He loves it. And I think the best scene in the movie is
that shit would crush in Brooklyn right now.
For sure.
Yeah, and then the best scene in the movie, I think, is Darren goes to confront Tobolowsky in the green room, and they kind of both cry together and apologize to each other. And Tobolowsky talks about how like it's just so brave that you can just be the person that you are, and I don't know how to be the person that I am. And I was like, there's a much better movie built around this scene that I wish I was watching.
It's really lovely, and it's like there's this funny like frisson of he's like, oh, you came here to like tell me you're gonna out me, and he's like, no, I just want like the trolleys to work. I don't want you to be corrupt.
And that Darren is like, no, I love this. You should keep doing this. I think it's great, but I want
this makes me like you so much better.
Throughout the rest of the movie, he's talking about like, man, you should have seen him. He's stunning as Blanche.
I do like that he's like, no, I like you more because it's difficult for him. I used to see you as just a bad guy, but now I know that you have this side of you. And it's like
I would also normally cast Tobolowsky as a Dorothy, but Blanche.
You think?
It worked.
That's the thing about Tobolowsky. I could see him as a Dorothy. I could see him as a Sophia. I could see him as a Rose. He could be any one of those characters. And
he's also a rabbi in this movie that gets mentioned a few times, but you never see him.
Thing. You see that he has a yarmulke on, but you never see it. Like the idea that he's a rabbi is something that doesn't play in otherwise. And it's like, is it just supposed to be funny? The idea of someone being a rabbi, like that anti-Semitic Netflix show, or is it
that anti-Semitic Netflix show?
You know the one I'm talking about with the rabbi in it.
Yeah, I texted you guys about that.
You did. I remember Stuart texted me saying, "Is this show anti-Semitic? Charlene wants to know." And I was like,
"You, of course, are the one who rules on this."
I also texted Josh this, I think.
Yeah, and I came down the side of I don't think it's anti-Semitic, but it certainly does not like Jewish women. That show.
It's a wild world where people in L.A. are just mystified by Jewish practices. And they're like, do I feed them bagels?
Terrible show about podcasting.
Yes, it's also that was more upsetting to me. Yeah.
Can I just say, like, I also agree. This is this is like a 5-star scene in an otherwise not as good movie.
Otherwise, like a 2-star movie. Yeah.
But I was like thinking about like, why is this so great? Like, part of it is I just always love a scene in a movie where like two people who had been at odds like have a moment where they come together, where they see each other's like humanity. But also, this is the one scene in the movie I think that two characters are actually like connecting to one another. Like literally every other scene, people are like talking past one another or have some like reason they're not being honest, and this is like the one honest scene between people.
And you don't get to see Stephen Tobolowsky play a character with this much kind of life going on, this much emotion going on. He's almost usually just like doing character parts, and so it was great for him. But I agree, Dan. That's a really good point. That like it's two characters talking to each other rather than talking around each other, and it's an example of like it makes me actually. You know what I. Thinking about it now, after watching Poolman the first time, I was like, I don't know if I'm that interested in seeing whatever Chris Pine does himself next. But if it's more in the style of this scene rather than the rest of the movie, then it could be really good. So it is a really good scene. And I don't love the ending, which is that someone shoots Tobolowsky from off screen and then literally just tosses the gun into Darren's hands and he goes, "Whoa!" And it's like, if he's close enough to toss the gun in your hand, you should have seen him. Like it's a little bit like the end of Jurassic Park, where they've made such a big deal out of how a Tyrannosaurus, if it's anywhere near you, you feel the ground shake. And yet this Tyrannosaurus manages to tiptoe up and surprise a raptor and bite it out of the air.
He's in stealth mode,
He's wearing sneakers in this one scene.
Yeah, he pushed the right trigger and he crouched. Couldn't hear him.
But it's a really good scene. But unfortunately, it ends with Tobolowsky dying. And with his last breath, he tells Darren, "Follow the water," because Chinatown. Meditating in a pool again. The lizard sees that talking lizard again. Darren wakes up. He's with Jack and Diane. He is spiraling. Jack is turning down a lucrative sitcom directing job.
I thought that was pretty funny.
That they offer him $75,000 an episode to direct.
Well, I love the way that the scene is set up, where he's explaining this offer, and you can see Diane getting so excited for him, and then he's like, "I turned it down."
Well, this is a
right there.
Well, also it's a good moment. Like you don't get to know much about Jack and Diane's history, but they do a good job of like implying things. But also that moment where he's like, "I got offered this amount of money to the sitcom." It's like, "Oh, so you're a person with a real career." Like you're not this is not a character who is like a never was, has been, who is trying to get this documentary off the ground. Instead, he's a guy who like is well known enough that they're going to pay him $75,000 an episode to direct a TV show. You know,
I don't want to play the logic police on Poolman, but this.
But I'm gonna.
This felt very strange to me because all the rest of the time you see Danny DeVito, he's like, "Did I remember to have a battery for this camera that I'm like?"
And like his agent was also like not talking. Like he's like he hasn't returned my calls in 16 years or something.
but
I mean, you guys work in film and television. You know that people in all levels are always incredibly competent. The people at the highest levels, the most competent.
And people have long memories.
That's for sure. Well, no, but what that said to me is, oh, this guy had a career and then he screwed it up somehow.
I agree.
Yeah, which I
totally.
really love, which I like a lot. That's like that to me. It's like, okay, well, that's good screenwriting because now I feel like this guy has a whole history and that I didn't know about. You know, Darren has a breakthrough. It must be that Ray Wise is stealing water from underneath this housing project. It's an unknown source of water that nobody knows about but him. And he runs off to June and accuses her of setting him up. And she reveals that, or she tells him that Ray Wise, Van Patterson, is actually her father. And she says, this is all about water. The councilman was killed for having an attack of conscience, and my mother is sick, and Ray Wise has been taking care of my mother. But then she leaves, and he immediately finds a portrait on the wall of June and Ray Wise that says, the future Mr. and Mrs. Van Patterson.
Which is hilarious.
Which is hilarious. And that's the kind of, if this was
right behind it.
If this
and
was
I love
a movie,
that it's like a commissioned portrait with a nameplate for a future.
It's like a Grant Wood style
and he's
American
still
Gothic
married.
portrait.
That's crazy.
And he's still married. And this is
it's so funny.
It's a very funny, and it's like if this was more of a Pee-wee's Big Adventure movie, I think that'd be a fantastic joke. But because this is a movie that's pretending to be a mystery, it's like I'm like, all right, so this character really is an idiot that he never noticed
worked for
this
me.
before.
I liked it, and I mean, in the process of looking at it with an origami Statue of Liberty with an actual flame, it catches fire, and his only option is to take off his shirt to put out the fire.
Yeah, so that he can then put on like a cape or something like that and jump on a moped. He finds that portrait, and he finds that portrait, and then he tastes the almonds that she's serving, and he realizes it has the same spice blend coating as Ray Wise's character's almonds, and it's like you don't need another piece of evidence. It's already like you know what's going on.
Right, that should have been before he saw the painting and everything.
Exactly. He runs off. The cops are chasing him. He's on a moped. He flees. He shows up at Van Patterson's house, interrupts Ray Wise in the middle of smothering his wife with a pillow.
Funny.
This is what, like, again, this is it's pretty funny, and it's like if the movie had a kind of manic feeling to it, then that all throughout, then I would have been like, this is great. But instead, it's so lackadaisical, and then at the end, it's suddenly like, bam, 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 silly, silly, silly. You know,
I had fun with it, and I felt like like the ending part. I was like, this is silly. I'm having more fun than I was for the previous hour 10 or whatever. But it also reminded me of a lesser kind of auxiliary Coen work, which is Drive Away Dolls, where the end just gets like Looney Tunes in a way that was not foreshadowed by the previous feel of the movie. And this kind of had that where it's like, now we're going into seventh gear. And you're like, what?
And so they interrupt. It turns out he's like, I know what's going on. And Ray Wise is like, no, stupid. I'm murdering my wife for her almond farm. June is my lover, and like he just explains what he's doing to him. And and Darren, still an idiot, says to June, "I love you. We should run away together." And June is like, "I've been using you this whole time. I'm Van Patterson's lover. Like, how many times do you have to learn this from me?"
I mean, if you have an option like Ray Wise on the table, you go for it.
Now,
of course,
the wise choice. Ray Wise for mayor of Los Angeles.
No, don't promote Ray Wise. Don't promote Ray Wise's mayoral run.
Oh, wow, I can't believe you came on the podcast just to fuck your game up, Elliot.
What a heel turn. What a heel turn. Ladies and gentlemen, no one expected this from Josh Gondelman, the nicest man in the business. Suddenly, total heel turn, going for Ray Wise.
Wow, it's John Cena turning evil all over again.
Is that Ray
Hitting
Wise's
Elliot with
music?
a proverbial chair. Wait, what do you say?
Yeah, what's Ray Wise's walkout music?
Well, the score of this film also I really liked. It was like fun and light and jazzy, and it was done by Andrew Bird, I think.
It was.
Anyway,
I want to ask.
There's a lot of good elements to this movie. We should make clear about that. This movie I don't think works, but there's a lot of good elements to it.
In a preview of my final judgments, I think this movie works best if you don't care about the plot.
Yes.
But even so, I'm going to ask a question like, what was she using him to do? Like, why did she involve him?
It does seem like one of those movies where it would have been easier for the bad guys if they didn't do most of the stuff that they do to hide what they're doing.
Cut out the part where an unreliable idiot is the key to their whole plan.
My guess is that they're trying to use him to set up Tobolowsky to take the fall for whatever for this water scheme. So they're going to manipulate him into taking out the one guy who is having second thoughts about what's going on.
Right, because he was like, I'm about to be out. I was dirty, and now I want out of this plan.
Right,
and that's why they
he's the fall guy for the murder.
But considering they solved that problem by shooting him in the head, which you'd think they could have done earlier without bringing in Darren at any point.
For sure.
Yeah, especially because if you shoot someone in the head with in an empty green room where there's nobody else there, there's nobody to connect you to the murder, as opposed to needing to go to the trouble of bringing in a fall guy, setting him up to take the fall, to be a patsy for it.
A fall guy who is notoriously not well liked in civil court situations, basically.
Yeah. So,
but who is visibly onto you?
Yeah.
She says, I was just using you. Van Patterson is about to shoot Darren when Wayne comes in and they shoot him in the hand or something like that.
Yeah,
and
shoot the gun out of his hand or whatever.
Wayne reveals that he's an undercover FBI agent. He has been investigating Van Patterson all this time. He arrests the Van Pattersons for stealing the city's water for their almond farm. And
Dan DeVito rushes in. He's filming the whole time. He's giving Wayne notes. I thought that was pretty funny. Wayne notes to Dan
DeVito's he's recording the whole thing to get an ending for the movie. And things end really nicely between Wayne and Darren. And Darren has a therapeutic breakthrough. If I'm understanding correctly, it's that he remembers being abandoned by his mom under a tree or something like that, or just being left under a tree as a baby. That part lost me a little bit.
Yeah, I don't remember
that. And he writes to Aaron Brockovich again, and he's like, my friends and family, my friends are my family. I'm okay. And everyone in a very kind of Wes Anderson ending type thing, everyone gets together to watch the movie that Jack has made, and we see all the characters there. And it's at a city council meeting, and the city council offers him an official position in the Office of Change and Beauty, which he then turns down and starts giving a final speech about LA's need for trolleys and how to perfect the bus schedule. And at the end, we see he has a framed letter from Aaron Brockovich on his wall, and he tapes a picture of Jack and Diane to it. End of movie. What an adventure. What a quest,
Yeah. We took a dip in that pool.
Yeah, give us a couple more bars of Poolman, please. Come on, Josh.
All my friends are Diane and Jack. I clean the pool, they live out back.
Okay. Pretty good.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I'm kind of the Chris Cornell of this podcast.
Yeah.
People have often said that. Yeah.
Chris Cornell's usually not here either.
Dan, I got some bad news.
Oh no,
he's been here all this time.
Oh God,
Dan every day typewriters a letter to Chris Cornell.
Are you still going hungry?
This is the part of the podcast where we do our final judgments, whether this was a good bad movie, a bad movie, or a movie we kind of like. I think I'm going to shock a few members of our council here.
Whoa.
And say that I kind of like this movie.
Even Ki Mundi?
Yep, even them. I kind of like this movie. I agree that the screenplay is a mess. But honestly, like many films noir, if you don't put too much energy into following the tangled plot and just sort of enjoy the vibe, I found it enjoyable and increasingly enjoyable as it went on. Like the beginning, I thought was the part where I'm like, ugh, this is going to be more of a slog. And then I got on its wavelength. And
wavelength? Like a pool? Wave pool?
I mean, this is a hard one. Like,
I wouldn't connecting the fucking dots over here.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend this movie to anyone because they would probably be furious. They would be like, what are you talking about? But if you kind of have any curiosity about it, I don't know, there was a lot of vitriol about this movie when it came out, like Rex Reed, who was not a good critic, but he was like, this is the worst movie of this year and many other years or whatever. I'm like, I don't know, man. I feel like people just expected, like, Chris Pine, he's in all these big movies. He was going to make something a little more, wide appeal, and he didn't. He just made this shambling nonsense. And I feel like there used to be more room in cinema for shambling nonsense, and now people get mad if it doesn't fit into a box. That said, like, again, screenplay doesn't work. But I don't know. There was stuff about it I enjoyed. So that's where I fall.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. This is a movie that I did not enjoy at first, but over time it grew on me. I think starting with the Golden Girls sequence and then as it raced to the conclusion, it helps that I like a lot of the actors in it. I'm going to say this is a movie I kind of liked. I wasn't expecting to say that when I started watching it. All the comparisons to other like shaggy LA, like neo-noirs, whether it's, Under the Silver Lake, I think is a really good one, like a really good touchstone here. Or something like Lodge 49. What was that show with Wyatt Russell? I have a very soft spot for any movie where at the end all the characters get together and watch a movie of the movie you watch. I think there's this Spanish movie that was released under the title Witching and Bitching, where like all the characters, including the villains, are like hanging out watching the movie at the end, which I found
there's
charming.
another movie where that happens. I think it's about a guy who has a big adventure. I forgot his name.
Movie is that?
Yeah, I think his name rhymes with Gibi.
Is it Little Guy?
That's what it is.
But yeah, so I'm going to say
was the translated foreign.
Yeah, that's the Spirit Halloween costume.
The Spirit Halloween costume says "grown child."
So yeah, I'm surprised to say I think this is a movie I kind of liked.
I'm going to still call this a bad movie. I feel like talking to you guys has made me like it more than when I watched it. And what that says to me is that I like the idea of it more than I like the actual thing of it. And I think, Dan, you make a good point that in a film noir movie, often the plot is too naughty and complicated and with twists and turns that you're not supposed to. Yeah, naughty. You're not supposed to keep track of it. I think part of the issue here is that what's happening at the heart of it is not particularly complicated. It's very straightforward, but the main character is such an idiot that he's just having trouble figuring it out. And if that was the joke of the movie, as it seems to be at the very end, that what's happening is not that hard to untangle, but the main character's a moron, then that could be kind of a funny way to do it if he's just so in over his head. But instead, I think it just doesn't get that across. So I'm going to call it a bad movie, but a bad movie that has elements in it that I like. Josh, what do you?
I'm like right on the bubble. I think I got to go with Dan and Stuart in that.
You're dead to me. Oh, no, that's fine. That's all right. That's okay.
That's all right. Ray Wise is going to kick your ass in November, bud.
Oh, my cage money bag ladder match between with Ray Wise. Yeah. It's going to be terrible. Yeah.
Loser leaves town. It's like, not LA at Kalen.
No, not LA at Kalen. I can't be Ellie Toledo Kalen. It can't happen. No.
But I think there was just like enough to like that I can't recommend it, but I'm like, I had a fun time. Especially it picked up towards the end in a way that I was like, oh, you should go back and make the first 2/3 of the movie match the last third, like the third act, because that was really fun and kind of zippy and zany in a way that I enjoy. But I truly can't say like, oh, you got to go see Poolman. It's like a hidden gem. But Elliot, was you saying like, at first I thought I don't want to see what Chris Pine does next in this space. I kind of would like to see him direct with a script that someone else wrote, because I do think I like his taste. I like what he is like, ooh, I want to make one of these kind of movies. And just like the script just like didn't support the kind of style of it. So I'm like kind of cautiously hoping that he does a different, better version of a kind of a quirky, adventure-y, noir-y story.
I think it's going to take a little bit of time before he can make another movie just based on the reception to this one. But I agree. It's like, I feel like while watching it, I felt the movie figuring out what it was as a movie. And unfortunately, that's not a fun process for me to watch, because it's like the first half of the movie I was just like, come on, movie. Like give me something. Give me a thing. And by the end, there's fun stuff in it. But yeah, it's tough.
I think this one thing that a lot of the movies you cover, big fan of the podcast, love to listen to it.
Thank you.
One of the things
that's why we bring people onto our podcast to endorse our podcast.
Still can't support Elliot's run for mayor.
Sure.
I mean, vote for him for WGA board, but
yeah,
the things I've heard him say on this show, I just can't in good conscience.
But I think a lot of movies that I really don't like feel like they're like, fuck you, you're going to watch this movie. Like, they're just like jamming the movie down my throat. Yeah. And I like that this was bad in a way that like they're figuring something out and like working within a vision and it just didn't come together. And I like miss when movies were bad for that reason and not just like, we spent $300 million on this turd and it's going to gross more money than you've ever heard of.
Well, there's a joy to like a passion project like this, which we don't get very often. And there's a feeling where the movie isn't treating us like we're idiots.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is nice.
And it's not too self-serious. It's like, Yep. Anyway, kind of liked it. Don't recommend it.
Like Elliot.
Accurate. A lot of people feel that way about me.
Ray Wise for mayor.
Hey, let's
get on the K train, everybody. Not Ray Wise. Come on.
Ketamine?
Yeah.
Are you a 5-star baddie? If you answered yes, then Black People Love Paramore is the podcast for you. Contrary to the title, we are not a podcast about the band Paramore. Black People Love Paramore is a pop culture show about the common and uncommon interests of Black people in order to help us feel a little bit more seen. We are your co-hosts, Sequoia Holmes,
Jewel Wicker,
and Ryan Graham.
And in each episode, we dissect one pop culture topic that mainstream media doesn't associate with the Black people, but we know that we like.
We get into topics like ginger ale, the Golden Girls, Black romance, Uno, and so much more.
Tune in every other Thursday to the podcast that's dedicated to helping Black people feel more seen. Find Black People Love Paramore on MaximumFun.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
One thing we all have in common, we all have a mind.
It makes me so scared because I'm like, when is the bad thing going to happen?
And minds can be kind of unpredictable and eccentric.
Everybody wants to hear that they're not alone. Everybody wants to hear that someone else has those same thoughts.
Depeche Mode with John Moe is about how interesting minds intersect with the lives and work of the people who have them. Comedians, authors, experts, all sorts of folks trying to make sense of their world.
It's not admitting something bad if you say, this is scary.
Depeche Mode with John Moe, every Monday at MaximumFun.org or wherever you get podcasts.
This podcast is sponsored in part by Squarespace. That's right, Squarespace. You need a website. If you want to offer services online, well, Squarespace gives you everything you need to do that and get paid, the best part, all in one place. Get paid on time with professional on-brand invoices and online payments. And you can streamline your workflow with built-in appointment scheduling and email marketing tools. But you don't know how to make a website. Forget it. You do, because they've got cutting-edge design. Squarespace offers a complete library of professionally designed templates with options for every use and category, intuitive drag-and-drop editing, beautiful styling, unrivaled visual design, no experience required. So, if this interests you, head to squarespace.com/flop for a free trial. And when you are ready to launch, use offer code FLOP to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Also, we got a couple of Jumbotrons. One is from CN Mortego. And they say, do you love understated British humor? And that's humor with a U because it's British. How about novels that open with a smash cut to in media res? Then you might quite like Do Not Harm, Terms and Conditions Apply by CN Mortego, a fast-paced satirical space opera that's equal parts Douglas Adams, Terry Pratchett, and Becky Chambers. As Daniel Craig might say, and I guess this is licensed to do one of our patented bad accents, you're only supposed You're only supposed to blow the bloody planet up. Now that's out June 24th. Buy it now on Kindle. I mean, it was out June 24th. This is coming out later, so it's possible to buy it now. Out June 24th on Kindle. Buy it now. This is a second Jumbotron, and this one is for Patrick, and is from your family. Do you know who your family are? They are Annie, Ellie, Robert, and Doggy Cash. Happy 40th birthday. Hope you feel loved and celebrated on this special milestone. Here's to another 40 years of good coffee, great travel, and incredible memories. Thanks for being our detailed planner and always having our next show, song, or podcast episode ready to go. Live life like a 3-1 count. Galloway, baby, love to love you. That's very sweet. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Jumbotron Jumbotron persons as well. If you'd like to get a Jumbotron, you can go to MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron and do so. But for right now, why don't we go back to the show? Hey, we get letters at the show, and before we get into some letters
do
this
we
week,
ever?
I forgot who sent us the letters I read last time. I have learned since that it was Stephen and Greg of the last name withhelds.
Alex, just cut that out and add it to the last episode.
Yes, shove that into the Garfield episode.
Yeah. Just shove it up Garfield. Yeah.
So
that's the thing. I feel like I was possibly grading this movie on the Garfield curve, which is the curve of Garfield's round body. But I just hated the Garfield movie so much that I was like, oh, this is a breath of fresh air.
I would definitely rather watch this than the Garfield movie, which is damn it with the faintest of praise. Yeah.
So this first letter is from Chat Last Name Withheld, who writes, just listen to the Love Hurts episode, and the mention of David Cronenberg got me thinking. In an era of so many remakes, many being gritty, what if we had more gutsy remakes? Gutsy in the Cronenberg sense. Imagine, for example, Mrs. Doubtfire, but the lead character takes the transformation into the titular British nanny to the extreme with backroom illicit cosmetic surgeries. Do you have any old favorites that might
Sounds like a job for BF Skin Man. Get a grandma's skin and put it on Robin Williams. Yeah.
Do you have any old favorites that might benefit from a Cronenberg-esque gutsy remake? P.S. Regarding Goonies as a masturbation metaphor, the pirate's name was One-Eyed Willie. It's all right there.
Wheels within wheels. Wow. Or wheels within willies. Yeah.
Infinite wiener.
Oh, boy.
It's just infinite wiener all the way down. That's what Bertrand Russell said, isn't it? It's just wieners all the way down? Yeah.
Yeah. That's that bar in Bushwick, I think. Wieners all the way down.
Wieners all the way down.
I went to their election night party. No.
Oh, so they do little wiener races on during the week.
I don't want to know what that is. So the movies that need some kind of body horror remake. Is that what we're calling for it?
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the thinking.
Okay, so obviously I'm going to reference one of Dan and my favorite movies, Junior, where Arnold Schwarzenegger gets pregnant. You can make that way grosser and crazier.
Never seen Junior.
You've never seen Junior?
I've never seen Junior.
Oh, no. I saw it in the theaters when it came out, but I haven't seen it since then.
Check out the cineast over here.
Yeah, I don't want to brag, but I saw Junior during its original release.
Yeah.
30 millimeter.
Yeah.
It was a 70 millimeter roadshow, Josh.
Yeah. The intermission, assigned seating.
That's
was not
what
so
Arnold
common
Schwarzenegger was dilated to, 70 millimeters.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought this was a pretty good premise.
It's a great question. Did you have an answer for it?
No, I don't. I was vamping.
Santa Claus. When he gets bigger, it's way grosser.
I have a genre that I think could be body hard because I think I think a movie, because you said old favorites, and I think if I love something, this is such an intense element that it might kind of tip the scales to like, oh, this doesn't match. So I think you got to take a movie that didn't quite work the first time and body horror it up. And I think something like Kate and Leopold, which is a time travel rom-com with Hugh Jackman and Meg Ryan, where he has to invent the elevator. Like he has to go back in time to invent the elevator so they can't be together. And I think like that time travel is ripe for like body horror, almost like in a The Fly sort of way. And then I think we're kind of jazzing up this movie that felt like it could have used a little more zing.
Yeah.
Kate and Leopold, gross version.
So you're just thinking of like, rom-coms is the genre, or you're saying that stuff is
this
the
specific
stuff.
movie.
Oh, okay.
I like a rom-com as a genre, but I'm saying you take a movie that like didn't quite have enough oomph to it and you add the body horror rather than going like, oh gosh, I loved Chinatown, but I wish that there were more body horror in it.
Well, I feel like
so. You're not arguing that Sleepless in Seattle should be about a man
Correct.
who literally can't sleep.
Yeah, and his eyes are bleeding, and
he finds love.
So, let's Poolman is something that could use if the thing that they were uncovering was more of a body horror scandal. I was going to suggest Splash, but then I realized that the movie The Lure is already kind of a body horror version of Splash. It's like a horror version of The Little Mermaid. But I'm also going to jump on the Arnold Schwarzenegger comedy train, the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito comedy train. I'm going to say Twins could have a body horror element. They're literally the products of a genetic experiment on an island of scientists. There's no reason that the twins halfway through, like once they're in the same place together, maybe their bodies are like reacting to each other in strange ways because they're the opposing kind of
That's
polarized
Alpha
halves.
and Omega, yeah.
I was going to say that Danny DeVito as the twin that in the movie, like the joke is like, oh, he got all the bad stuff. It's like he's trying to crawl back inside Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Or he's trying he's going to try to surgically take some of the good stuff and give it to him.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm so glad you bring this up, Elliot, because I was just rewatching Twins the other day, and it was great. And I was really thinking that as a kid, I think the reason why I loved it so much is that Arnold Schwarzenegger's character in that movie is just like a giant super kid.
Yes.
He's like kind of dumb. Everything's very new to him. He sees everything on a very surface level, but he is like hyper smart and the strongest human in the universe. So like he can deal with problems very easily if he needs to, but at the end of the day, he's still just like kind of a goofy, like innocent child, right?
Yes,
which is why kids loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we got one more letter here. This is from Anna, last name withheld, who writes,
Anna Kendrick.
Okay, go with me on this one because I know it's an odd message. I was recently listening to your Money Plane episode, and when I got to Elliot's phone call with Mark Summers, I suddenly had a thought.
I have no memory of this bit.
Also, I met
I'm going to have to listen to that
week.
episode.
Oh, really? What? Was she a scrappy little nobody?
Yeah,
she was on Wait. She was really good.
You're asking her a simple favor.
Did she? When you said she was going to be on Flophouse, was she like, "Oh, I just sent them a letter. I hope they read it on the podcast."
She's like, "But I hope they don't say my name because I would be so embarrassed."
Oh no, sorry, Anna. I said anyway, to go back, I got to Elliot's phone call with Mark Summers again. Yeah, I don't know what that's about either, but
gonna have to listen to the episode again. Yeah,
I suddenly had a thought. I started laughing about the idea of Elliot's wife asking him to role play. I can't imagine they would actually ever get to sex, but it has to be fascinating.
This is why Anna Kendrick was embarrassed.
Yeah.
Not that she's embarrassed to be a listener.
As a preemptive answer to any follow-ups, this was just an amusing thought. Of all the floppers, my fantasies do not actually involve Elliot. On a completely unrulated note, hi, Stuart. Well, that's unnecessary.
Wow. I like to role play too, baby. I'm an orc.
Okay, gross.
I just feel like I'm being betrayed a lot in this episode. It's either Stuart or Ray Wise, but Elliot is no one's first choice.
Yeah. Ray Wise is holding the dagger, but Stuart's distracting Elliot.
I mean, but as a theatrical experience, it sounds like your role playing is the preferred.
Sure, yeah.
Just
as
a one-man show.
Yeah, because I really get into it. Yeah. I get into the character.
Yeah, I just thought that was a funny. There's not really much to address there. Glad we could talk about Anna Kendrick a little bit.
Mm-hmm. She was very nice.
Yeah,
I got to watch for 5 minutes. I walked down to walk over to the theater for the Wait, Don't Tell Me taping, and I walked into Paula Poundstone and goes, "Josh, you gotta help me, man. I know her name is Anna Kendrick, but where do I know her from?" and Anna Kendrick is like, she already made me name many of the movies I've been in, and it was none of them. She was like, Pitch Perfect. Paul's like, never seen it. Heard of it?
This feels very on brand for Paula Poundstone.
Twilight. Yeah. That impression is offensive. I shouldn't.
Yeah.
It was Twilight?
Yeah,
it was Twilight.
Alex, can you zhuzh up Josh's impression so it's less offensive?
No,
just the idea of Paula Poundstone, like the thing that she had seen was Twilight.
It was so funny. Just an incredible blow to that story. And it was because she had a teenage daughter who was really into Twilight.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Checks out.
Just a really incredible moment.
This is the part of
the
the
funniest,
movie.
the best part of me to that story was when it turned out that Anna Kendrick was there for the conversation between you and Paul about Step Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, she was standing right there.
I walked into a convection that they were having.
About who she is and why Paul Van Zoon didn't know who she was.
I know who that is. Like, she's in, they were talking and I interrupted. And Anna Kendrick is going like, she's like, I just want you to know I wasn't naming movies just like out of my own. She asked me to.
Yeah.
That
she was
is
like,
so funny.
Pitch Perfect.
She doesn't just go around telling people like, hey, you might know me from these movies. I'm Anna.
It was so funny.
She's not a Troy McClure. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm Anna Kendrick. You may know me from such movies as Pitch Perfect, Pitch Perfect 2, and Pitch Perfect 3.
Speaking of actors to directors, I like that movie that she made.
I haven't seen it yet.
Which one?
I didn't see it.
I can't remember the Woman of the Year
Substance?
or something like that. Like,
Substance.
I mean, Woman of the Year is an old movie, but I think
Was
they
it
might have
Poolman?
reused the title. I don't know. It was about the
Woman of the Hour.
Woman of the Hour. Yeah, it was.
She's real. It's a real come down from Woman of the Year.
Yeah,
You got to build your way up. Maybe there's a prequel.
Ever wonder how she became the Woman of the Year, where she didn't start there?
1 hour at a time.
So this is the part. This is the part of the podcast where we do recommendations, movies that might be, more of a lock on a good time than Poolman. I'd like to recommend a movie that I watched because I know that Griffin Newman was really promoting this one. It's called I Like Movies. It was from 2022. It's like it's a very small little sort of coming of age comedy about a difficult high school kid who you might be able to sympathize with this. People in this cohort who likes movies, who's really obsessed with movies, has a dream job at a video store, really is obsessed with the idea of going to film school, and is difficult in the way that teenage boys who are really obsessed with sort of their own feelings and obsessions might be. And the movie doesn't shy away from how annoying this kid can be without also like showing like, okay, he is capable of growth and slowly learning over the course of the movie to, sort of look outside himself. And it's small and sweet and funny, and it felt like a movie that, like I'd been watching for decades, and like it was like slipping into an old favorite to watch it. So I Like Movies is what it's called. I really enjoyed it.
I'm going to recommend a new release, one that I saw in the theater with Dan McCoy.
Ooh.
That's right. Earlier this week, we went and saw 28 Years Later. You might have seen the social media video of the Flophouse mini episode that we recorded.
Probably not.
Maybe not. It's on the Flophouse Instagram and my TikTok. But so I've always had, I guess, respect for this franchise. I thought, the first one is a huge deal. It certainly popularized the concept of super fast zombie equivalents. And it also was super intense, and it made stars of a number of people, including my man Brendan Gleeson. And then the second one I think is, a little bit more intense and more specifically a horror movie. Like, I feel like the second one has an incredible opening and then, kind of devolves, but it's still solid, and it's a solid horror movie. And this third one is like a weird horror fantasy post-apocalyptic adventure that is a lot more introspective and somber in tone. It's very it's kind of a meditation on death, and it has some incredible performances. Jodie Comer's great, and Rafe Fiennes is incredible. And when he shows up, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this movie was sitting on this guy for so long. And then it also has a incredibly wacky ending that is amazing. So 28 Years Later, easily my favorite of the franchise. And I feel like similar to what is it, Sunshine, the Danny Boyle movie. I think it'll grow in estimation over time. I think it's really great. I also want to point out, Dan, you a couple episodes ago, you recommended summer of '69, and Charlene and I watched it, and it was very cute and funny, and that was a good recommendation. Good one.
Thank you for the validation.
I have been so busy lately that I've not really had a chance to watch many movies, which has been disappointing to me. So I'm going to recommend off of today's Poolman being such an LA movie. I'm going to recommend a trio of LA movies that I feel are better than Poolman. I don't think anyone would.
LA Story is the first
LA
one.
Confidential.
LA Land. It's a musical that.
You're the one person who calls it LA Land.
You guys seen that movie LA Land? So
you're into jazz?
You guys know about this? It's like music, but it goes everywhere. It just does what it wants.
My upstairs neighbor has a piano, and the number one song that they have played for 5 years running is "City of Stars" from.
Oh, I had my fingers crossed it was going to be that Linkin Park song.
That one.
Oh man, I'm getting choked up, Josh.
So I'm going to recommend 3 great movies set in LA. They all have kind of like two have mystery elements, and one is more of and the other one is a weirdo dealing with things in LA movie, much like Poolman is. So the weirdo dealing with things in LA movie is Nightcrawler. We've probably all seen it already with Jake Gyllenhaal. What a movie! I feel like it's the Taxi Driver Network of its day. All about how people are gross and institutions are corruptible. I'm going to mention Devil in a Blue Dress, which I recommended before on the podcast, which is a great LA period mystery thriller. And I'm going to mention perhaps the greatest of all LA mysteries where you never quite know exactly what's going on, but it is a strength of it. And that is Mulholland Drive by the late lamented master David Lynch, that's a movie where I feel like it captures so well the undercurrent of what it feels like to be in Los Angeles, because Los Angeles often New Yorkers especially, at least in the past, they'd be like, LA, there's no substance there, like there's nothing there, which ignores the fact that LA is a real city with real people in it. It's not just entertainment industry types. Like there's actual people who have actual jobs and that live
not
actual
just
lives.
Randy Newman songs.
Yes, exactly.
Or the third act of Babylon.
Your job is an actual. Elliot, your job is an actual job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Dan. It certainly takes enough of my time.
Being a dad, it's the hardest job you'll ever love.
It's the hardest job there is, other than being a mom, which is a harder job. But there is a feeling, I think, because the sun is so bright in LA, there's this feeling of unreality that underlies kind of everything. And Mulholland Drive captures that so well. And so those are 3 LA movies that I'm going to recommend after watching this LA movie. And Josh, do you have a recommendation that you would like to make?
Galen.
That's Elliot Galen. Here's my LA movie watch list. Elliot Galen.
I just remembered another great Guy Meets a Bunch of Weirdos movies. Less schlub, but Bringing Out the Dead, the Scorsese movie where Nick Cage plays the ambulance driver, is one of those. And like After Hours is kind of in that vein too. Anyway, but so I it's like a genre that I'm like,
baby.
Yeah, and I'm recommended 3 New York movies. Pizza, the movie.
Movies that'll have you say, "Hey, I'm watching movies here."
I'm watching over here. And I want to recommend It's like on the horizon, but I got to see my good buddy Aaron Judge co-wrote a zombie movie also, Stuart, called Queens of the Dead. She co-wrote it with Tina Romero, who's George Romero's daughter.
Oh, yeah. I was just reading about that the other day. Yeah.
It's really, really fun. It's a drag queen zombie movie, and I got to see it at Tribeca where it screened during Pride in New York. And so it was just this like super hyped up, super queer audience that was just like, yeah, drag queen zombies. And it ruled. It was so much fun to see in a theater. And I think they're still figuring out like when it's going wider and how, but I like keep your eyes peeled for it. It's a blast.
Hey, a bunch of LA movies recommended.
LA movies. LA
I
movies.
love LA movies. Josh, thank you so much for being here. Now is the time where you plug your shit again. I say shit only to mean stuff. I'm sure it's wonderful.
No, but the tone you said it in really it really implied stuff. It was a positive tone. Yeah.
I have a new stand-up special that's out now. It's on YouTube, on Blonde Medicine's YouTube channel. It's called Positive Reinforcement. It's really fun. we shot it about a year ago. It's the culmination of a bunch of touring that I did. It's like very fun and friendly, and I hope people watch it and laugh and go, it made me feel nice. And my wife's new book is out now. By the time this is out, it's called I Want to Burn This Place Down. It's essays. That one, much more financial. Our household's financial situation is much more contingent on you finding and enjoying that piece of art rather than my comedy special, which you can watch for free at any time. And then subscribe to my newsletter to find out about my live dates. That's marvelous. A Big Lebowski reference in its own right. JoshGondelman.substack.com. Thank you. That's too much plug.
And
no, keep plugging.
And stuff that has no effect on Josh's financial situation. He was nice enough to do a couple lines for the Fly Scraper bonus content that I'm still putting together, and it was very funny, especially because I asked him
rogues gallery in this thing.
Improvise him talking to a dog for a while, and it was funnier than anything I wrote.
If you thought Poolman had a Chris Pine bringing in his famous friends, just wait for Fly Scraper. If you're a Max Fun member, you'll be able to hear Fly Scraper, Dan McCoy's original. I know I still have to record my lines for it. Dan McCoy's original spec sitcom, not sitcom, I guess parody. Well, I don't know what you'd call it.
I don't know.
And it's gonna have all of Dan's famous friends in it.
Yeah,
Mel Gibson.
It's kind of your. It's kind of your Metropolis in its gestation period.
Yeah. I'll have it done before the next drive. I promise it. But again, thank you, Josh, for being here.
All of Dan's famous friends are going to be in it. Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein.
Everyone who's endorsed Andrew Cuomo for mayor.
Andrew Cuomo. Yeah. Eric Adams.
I was going to make a joke about that with Dan, but I thought he'd get upset. I'm glad Josh did it.
Check out Josh's special.
Nicest man in comedy Gondelman, still going after Dan McCoy.
Check out Maris's book. And also, I'll take this time to say thank you to our network, Maximum Fun. Go over to MaximumFun.org to check out all the other great podcasts on that network, our network. And thank you to Alex Smith, our producer, who goes by the name Howell Doughty all over the internet. Speaking of bonus content stuff, we just put up the second Slop Tales episode on the member bonus feed, and Alex does so much work for those things, doing original music and sound design for that, and he does a great job. So if you remember, check that out. But for this episode of The Flophouse, I've been Dan McCoy.
I've been Stuart Wellington.
I've been L.A. It Kalen.
And with us has been.
I am a has-been. Josh Gondelman.
No, you got a new special out. Your wife is a bookhouse.
I was pointing at him just to cue him, and it really did look like I was saying, has.
I missed the old ways, and I'm Josh Gondelman.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I heard tell you had another hot one.
Let's hear the other hot one.
It's a smoker.
That was the hot one. Let's hear this next hot one.
On this episode, we discuss Poolman.
That's right. Him, the Poolman Paler.
Man, it's a hot one.
It is a hot one.
That was the hottest of ones.
I doubted you, but
those are two sterling hot ones. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go. Let's do the show.
Yeah, you didn't want to hear mine.
Do you? Do you want to do it?
Let me just get it out of my system. Let me get it out of the system.
Okay.
I won't use it.
On this episode, we discuss Poolman.
The Supreme Court can go fuck itself.
Maximum Fun.
A worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
supported
Directly
by you.